And lawmakers in the European Union want to take a crack at Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg. The 28-nation bloc wants to hear more from Zuckerberg about Facebook's data privacy scandal. And he spent nearly 10 hours on Capitol Hill this week being grilled by House and Senate members. And Phil Matier and I asked former San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown if this week's testimony was win, loss, or draw.
Big win. Big win. He performed better than any of corporate America has ever performed before the two houses. They were overmatched.
Well, part of the problem was, he's in front of 40 people, 50 people at a time, and he's getting 4 minutes or 5 minutes, so there really is no time for substantive conversation or follow-ups.
He smoked them. I mean, every time they asked him a tough question, he'd say, I'll get back to you with that.
No,
yeah, that's
true.
No,
Phil.
My
didn't
people
do that
will
every
get back
time.
to
The only guy that nailed him was Dickie Durbin out of Illinois. That's how Trump defines him and describes him when he talked about, what hotel are you staying in?
Senator, no, I would
Where did you eat dinner last evening? Have you tweeted anybody? Have you communicated with anybody? And of course, Zuckerberg was astounded. Why would you want to know that information? He says, that's exactly what this hearing is about, privacy.
Okay,
and put his mic down. Nailed him.
Right, nailed him, but then Zuckerberg walked out and his street value on Facebook went up what?
$3 billion.
Well, I think part of the problem is several people tried to get at this, but they weren't effective. The issue isn't what you post on Facebook. The issue is where are they tracking you throughout the internet? What kinds of, even if you're not a Facebook member, even if you're logged out, what kind of information do they know? And people tried to get at it, but he's claimed not to know. That was the bigger issue.
I'll get back to you on that. But going forward, Washington's part of his problems. The FTC is still investigating, but here in California, there's an initiative to put some of the brakes on sharing that information. Now, Zuckerberg said Facebook isn't going to oppose it, but do you think they're going to lay back and let this just happen?
Be very clear. The reason I suspect he said that is because he clearly knows it is impossible for that collection of people to do anything about an organization like Facebook or any aspects of the internet. That's right. That operation clearly demonstrated in the question and answers in both houses that they have no idea what to do, period. And believe me, when they try, it's going to be like shooting fishes on a pond.
So a big part of his goal was to stop any kind of talk of regulation. Did he accomplish that?
He seems to have really taken the air out of it. And we still may see regulation coming, but the urgency surrounding it, initially it was, oh my goodness, there's this data breach, we're going to have to do something. And he really managed to take the emergency element out of it. So we may see something coming in years to come, but not necessarily anytime soon. So he was successful to that degree. So
he sold the argument, we're going to do a better job regulating ourselves.
Yes, and we're already doing it, and here's our 10-point plan, et cetera. So again, I still think that there's more to know about how they track non-members and logged out members, but that'll be for another hearing, I guess.
We have less than 2 months to go until the California primary, and a new poll shows that Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom's lead has dipped slightly in California's gubernatorial race. The new poll was conducted by the nonpartisan Public Policy Institute of California. It shows that Newsom has support of 26% of voters surveyed. That's down 2 points from a poll conducted in March. Republican businessman John Cox is at 15%, and 13% of those surveyed support former Los Angeles Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa. The poll also found that 22% of respondents are still undecided.
So Phil Matier and I asked former San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown what his read is of this new poll.
Gavin went down by 2. Everybody else went up by 1, except that it's very strange. If that Terrence Allen would get out of the way, clearly the number 2 guy, Cox, on the Republican side of the aisle, Cox would be the number 2.
Well, Travis Allen isn't going to get out. He's got about 10%. Cox has 15. Together, they could, if one of them got out, they'd make the runoff. You're nodding yes.
That has been the problem with the Republicans in previous elections as well. They can't coalesce behind one candidate, so they keep missing out the runoff. The other problem for Cox is that Villaraigosa now has this infusion of $7 million.
The former Los Angeles mayor.
That's right.
Democrat.
And so he's getting, that's actually 8.5, I think, right?
No, it's even higher.
Oh, my goodness.
It's going to 20.
Wow.
They're going to put the charter school types, etc. We're going to do about an independent expenditure of about $20 million in the next 55 days.
So it makes it even more likely that Villaraigosa would be the person who makes it to the runoff rather than Cox, who's largely self-funded, and he's got plenty of money. I don't know if he's got $20 million to put in to match Villaraigosa.
Except if I know anything about Republicans, it will not be but a few more minutes before you'll see a ton of dollars coming in to make sure Cox makes the runoff.
It's going to be interesting. Now, on the Democratic side, this week we had Governor Jerry Brown say yes to Donald Trump's request to put National Guard troops on the border. And the Democratic gubernatorial response to that was the candidates all lined up and said
They obviously want to avoid offending
Nothing.
Jerry, but they don't want to offend Trump either, because they know that there's still somewhere between 18 and 25% of the people in this state are Trumpites. And believe me, if you could somehow figure out how to conceal your real views and pick up the Trumpites, you'd do all right.